Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight as we talk about how to think about finances during a time of crisis. As you're all well aware that we're in crisis mode now in the United States and across our nation, period. This is not an accident. This is not something that has just generated overnight. This is something that has been in the making. The warning signs have been here, and we have just been negligent when it comes to financial education, financial literacy. Not only that, but teaching our kids about finances and letting them know how important money is to our legacy of our family, how important money is to our day-to-day life. So I have here with me Miss Malaya Bray. Malaya is my youngest daughter. She is a college student. She is a business owner. And with all that being said, I asked her to join me tonight because even the talk about finances is important to her future, and she may not understand how important it is at this time because she's still young and still trying to figure things out. If you're here and you join with me tonight, go ahead and like and share this video. I'll give you a couple minutes to go ahead and contact a friend, someone that you love that could benefit from this video tonight. In the meantime, if you haven't already got a copy of this book, this is the book that I finished in 2019. It is called Recreating a Better Me. It is a self-help book to help you get unstuck in those areas of your life that you may be stuck. Now, you'd be surprised to know that the chapter 1 in this book is on financial education. It is so important. Without finances, our legacy stops with us. I would hate to think that everything that I've worked to build and create over the last 17 years stops when I leave this world. I would hate to think that. I would like to think that I've imparted something of value into my children to where they can pick up the reins when I'm dead and gone. Also, if you notice my shirt today, it's my goals, financial freedom. It's not enough for me to just obtain that freedom. If I attain that freedom and then I leave my assets to my children, and then it dies with them. So education is important moving forward. Malaya, would you like to have something to say tonight?
No, I don't have anything to say.
All right.
No.
So hopefully by now you've had time enough to like and share this video so that others on your timeline can enjoy this video as well. So first and foremost, in a time of crisis, it's necessary that you create a budget. To some people, that is just like a curse word. Budget what? I have this amount of income and it stretches this far and it's just not going anywhere. Well, that's why budget and creating that budget is so important. You should have a budget to where you're living a means or a lifestyle less than the money you make. So if I make $1,500 a month, then maybe I should only be living off of $1,200 from that month and doing something else with the other $300. So usually most of us were living from paycheck to paycheck. When the time of crisis, that one missed paycheck can put us on the bread line. It could put us in a position to where we're homeless and having to depend on family and friends for shelter, for our next meal. And so if we don't take the steps to creating a budget now, it could be more harmful for us later moving forward. So what if it's fixed income, because some of us have been in situations. I know people that I'm connected to are on fixed incomes. Well, you know how much income you have going in from one month to the next. So there are things that we have to be cautious of in our spending. Because one thing I've found meeting people, that no matter how poor we are, we still spend money. And oftentimes that money is spent on unnecessary things. So that's the difference of our mindsets. Poor people spend money. We are consumers. We are the ones that keep the fast food industries, especially in college, right?
Yeah.
We keep the fast food industry booming. We keep the hair and nail salons booming. And we keep the fashion booming. So regardless of how much money we say we have or don't have, we spend on things that are not assets. And over time, we find ourselves in consumer debt. This is where we get into credit cards to feed our habits. We find ourselves buying things that we just simply cannot afford. Going out to eat unnecessarily. I'm sure everybody looking tonight has a house, and in that house you have a stove, and next to that stove you probably have a fridge. Do you get the point? So if we're spending $5 or $10 a day eating out at McDonald's or Brahms or Sonic, things that are not healthy anyway, that $5 or $10 a day adds up over the course of the month, over the course of the week, over the course of the year. That adds up. And so when we look at that, we're really not as poor or broke as we say we are. It's all in our mindset. So a budget is necessary. Ways to budget or to cut down costs that are already in your existing line of finances. One of them could be cut cable. A lot of times, this is the cause of us not being able to meet ends from month to month or from week to week, depending on how we get paid. We spend too much time sitting in front of the TV watching things that are non-productive. Soap operas, reality TV, game shows, things that are just entertaining us, but it's doing more harm to us than good. Not how many times, how many hours a day do you spend watching TV or on the cell phone?
On my phone, or like together?
All together. How many hours a day approximately do you spend watching TV or on your cell phone?
So like 6.
So approximately 6 hours a day spent watching cable or on the electronic device. How many times or how many hours a day do you spend investing in your business?
Not enough.
Not enough. So that matters. So if you take away that time spent in front of the TV or in front of the electronic device, that is a way that you could put a big dent into the amount that you're being non-productive in your life, just by simply just cutting the cable out. If you spend more than 2 to 5 hours a day sitting in front of the TV, chances are you're not being as productive or effective as you can be. All it takes is one great idea to change your financial destination. One thing, one good idea, and it changed the whole dynamics of the directions of your finances. So one thing you can do, cut out cable. Now, to a lot of people, that's going to be a big sacrifice. If you get what I'm saying, though, if you get the concept, send a like button or a heart button at this time. If you get the concept of what I'm saying, send me some hearts or a like button. Also, if you have a comment, feel free to put a comment in the comment section. All right. Number 2, one of the things that you should do is I'm lost with thoughts right quick. Let me take a look at my notes right here. Let me see. Did write down a couple notes for you because I didn't want to forget. Okay. Number 2 thing I have is to build you an emergency fund. Now, this can be hard for people that are already struggling to make ends meet. But when you consider cutting out cable, when you do that, cable is something that you're probably paying over $100 a month anyway. When you consider cutting that out of your budget, that's something that you could be using toward building an emergency fund. Now, I am a family of 4. It's me, it's my 2 daughters, it's my husband. So 4 times 1,000, that's $4,000. So I'm working now intentionally on building that emergency fund for my family. Emergencies are going to happen. We have 4 vehicles. So it's likely that one of those vehicles are going to go out. And guess what? One is out. Not only that, another one is wrecked. And another one is on its last leg. So that could easily throw me and my family over into greater debt. So we really have to be wise when we're dealing with these, looking at finances and rethinking that. Now, this is something that most of us, we got our income taxes and we just go out and instead of paying off existing debts, we go and incur more consumer debt. And this is a mindset that we have to get out of. I'm sure we have enough cars. I'm sure we have enough clothes and shoes and handbags and whatever else to last us a lifetime. So one of the things we want to start doing is building up that emergency fund so that when emergencies like that come, then we won't be so in such a crisis to where we're digging ourselves further and further in debt and never finding our way out. So, Malaya, you have a comment at this time? Because you have a debt, student loan debt right now, right? So if we had an emergency fund or something built up, then that could be something that we wouldn't have to go into financial loss behind, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. So how is learning about finances now, how could that change some of the financial decisions that you've already made or something up until this point? How does lack of financial education in our family, how has it helped or hurt you early on into your financial situations?
I guess I would be like more responsible, like how I spend money when I get money.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of habits have you developed so far in spending money in college? Because you're responsible for your money. When it comes to you, you're responsible for it. We're no longer there telling you how to spend it or where to spend it. So what are some choices that you can make with the little income that you have to make better choices going forward for maybe some college student or future college student that are watching right now? What advice could you give them about financial education and building up that emergency fund?
I mean, I wish I could have like spent less money on like just going out and eating and hanging out with friends and stuff. Cause like now I'm about to be a senior after this semester, and I'm trying to hurry and save up money so I can like be on my own after I graduate and stuff like that. If I had to start that before, I wouldn't be in such a rush to try to get everything together now.
It makes sense. If you understand what she's saying and you get the concept of what she's saying, taking that money and building an emergency fund instead of spending on going out to eat and things like that, go ahead and like and share this video now. Go ahead and send up some hearts just so that she knows that you're understanding the concept of what she's saying. So yes, that is very important. The third thing, the first thing was what was the first thing? Create a budget. First thing was to create a budget. The second one was to build that emergency fund. The third thing that I want to encourage you to do, especially if you're already in debt, is to get you some form of life insurance or life security, okay? We cannot get out of this thing alive. We cannot get out of this thing alive. Life insurance is important to our families, especially us that are poor, that don't maybe have that emergency funds saved up. Those of us that don't have a budget, we're not going to get out of life alive. Let's just face that. Death is evident. We don't know where it is. It could be here today. It could be here tomorrow. It could be here the next second, the next minute. We do not know. So it is important that we have planned for death. I lost my dad here a couple months ago. It was a surprise. It was sudden. It was unexpected. And to our family and to a lot of families in our community, he was very valuable to our family, and he was very valuable to our community. So losing him was a big loss. A big loss, okay? So, but he had a plan. He had a plan. He had life insurance. And I cannot tell you how important it is that a lot of that financial burden that comes along with burying your loved one, I don't know. I'm just saying, if I had to pile that debt of burying him on top of everything else that I have going on in my life, I don't know that I could make it right now. So in the midst of everything, life goes on. Hit that like button if you understand what I'm saying. Life goes on. We cannot get out of this alive. So if you don't have a savings, you have a family, and someone in the family dies, where does that leave us? Hit the like button and let me know you understand what we're talking about tonight. So this is something that not only that I have to discuss with my husband, but it's something that it's a conversation that has to go on with our kids as well. What have you done, Malaya, in preparation for life and death, and how has following through with that experience help you in understanding how important life insurance is?
Okay, are you asking what I've done?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when did I make a?
Sometime in the
It
summertime.
was sometime this summer. That's when I got life insurance, and then like as she said, like one of the cars is wrecked. I wrecked it, so like anything could have happened. So I guess it's a good thing. It was a good time for me to finally get that taken care of.
To learn about life insurance prior to you taking out a life insurance policy on yourself. How did you feel about that going in?
I mean, I didn't know much about it. I didn't know it was really important.
And so how important do you say it is now that we're talking about it here tonight for a college student, say they're still young and going into that college experience? How important is life insurance going to be to their future?
I'm sorry. What do you?
So you're addressing any college student that may be watching tonight, or future college student. How important is learning about life insurance going to be to their future? Is it a guarantee that we're going to make it to college and we all make it out alive?
No, because it's no.
Okay.
No, because like, especially if you first going into it, because it's real easy to get tempted to be like you don't want to be left out and then end up with no friends and stuff like that.
So a lot of the influences you're saying could put you in danger.
Like it's easy to be influenced to do stuff like you wouldn't normally do that. You know it's dangerous or something.
So having that life insurance, is that an experience that the parent should do for the adult student, or is that something that you suggest an adult student take the initiative to do themselves?
I feel like they should do it themselves, because then I guess it makes them more responsible for it, because it's like, it's not something that, oh, my mom can just do. I don't have to worry about it. It's not that serious. I can't actually have to sit down. I think it makes it more like real to them.
Okay. So it kind of puts things in perspective at that time. Yeah, it does. It puts things in perspective. So my suggestion, if you have a teenage kid or a college student and you haven't already thought about life insurance for them, even having them do it themselves, taking on that experience themselves, now is a good time to have that talk. My dad and I, we didn't talk about the life insurance and all that leading up to the days of his death. It was just in the last few days that it was just understood that he'd always said that I'd take care of things. If something happened to him, I knew what to do. And so it was still a lot that I had to figure out, even though I knew where his paperwork was and knew where his policies were located and things like that. There was still a lot to contend with. And in the time of death, you know, we don't want to be worried about creditors calling and bills being due and all that, and things just piling up on top of each other. And so that's something that a young teenager or one that's considering college in the future, you know, they're up and down the dangerous highways. There's no colleges around where we live. And oftentimes they're on the dangerous highways having to commute an hour or more to a college, or an hour or more to get home. And so life insurance is important, because like my baby just told you, you know, she's already had an accident. She wrecked the car. So that could have been a whole new situation to where the inevitable happens, you know. So we have to prepare ourselves for these things. So if you understand what I'm saying, go ahead and like. You can even put a comment in the comment section if you have a comment at this time. So number one, we're going to create a budget. Number two, create emergency fund. Three, we're going to pay off those debts, and we're going to get life insurance. That is important. So especially for us that are poor. Now, if you don't want to trust a policy for life insurance or talk to somebody about life insurance, I suggest that you add up the cost of what it's going to cost to bury you, or your family member or whoever you're responsible for, and start putting that money back into some kind of account or savings to where you understand that this is in the case of death, and this is what this fund is used for, and you put it up so that it builds up. So in the case that, say I die tomorrow or 10 years from now, that money is there, and that money is there to bury me or my loved one. So you have a choice, but it is necessary, especially in time of crisis. We're dealing with Corona now. If it's not Corona, it's the flu. If it's not the flu, it's AIDS. If it's not AIDS, it's cancer. It's always something that is there to alter our life. And so if it affects our life, it affects our finances. We cannot pull them apart. There's always something looking to take our life and our finances. That's just the reality of it is. If you get the concept of what I'm saying, go ahead and give me a heart at this time. Go ahead and just give me a heart, because if you understand the concept of what I just said, how you cannot separate your life and your finances, go ahead and hit that heart button at this time. Last but not least, I need you to think in terms of how to think long-term when it comes to your finances. If you're not thinking long-term when it comes to your finances, then there has to be a shift in our mindset. We have to think long-term. We have to think legacy. That has always been my focus. When it comes to my girls, I feel like I could move mountains. I'm always legacy focused. Haven't always done it right, but that's always been my focus, legacy. So in your finances, you should also be thinking long term, right?
Right.
So if you were thinking long term, you would have ate a little less.
Yeah.
Ate a little bit less fast food.
Stayed in my room a little more.
Stayed in your room a little bit more, not really hang with the cool kids, you know, and we're guilty too. Older women between 40 and 65, which is who I love to talk to. We're guilty too, because we're at the age to where we should have a nest built up, and not all the times we have that nest built up. We're fronting and stunting and want everybody to think we got it going on, and we buying this and buying that, and got to hang with this girl and go with that girl and eat out this day of the week. And in reality, we don't have two nickels to rub together. So that pressure, it's a reality. We have that pressure of financial spending and consuming stuff. From her age all the way to my age. So it is what it is. The best thing that I learned how to do is to say no. If you know how to say no, hit that like button. If you know how to say no, hit that like button, because no is going to be your best friend when it comes to hanging out and wanting to spend and consume and whatever. No. And I'm not ashamed to say no. There was time that I'd go and I'd get dressed and I look like old Granny Annie, and my friends, they would laugh and they'd make a comment, and girl, ain't no telling what I had on. But I had a plan. Well, I'm gonna go and spend money on clothes. My clothes was clean. It wasn't the hottest fashion, but they were clean. I didn't have to spend a lot of money on it, you know. And sometimes we just have to get to that point to where we just say no. What's more important? Is it important that I look good and wear the latest fashion and tote around the hottest trends of the handbags that are out? Or is it important that I have a mindset of long term and I sacrifice some of those non-productive stuff to start building a nest for my legacy? So if you get the concept of what I just said, just hit that heart button. I need to see a heart. I need to know that you understand what I just said. So it's not about fitting in, right? Because you said if you wasn't under that pressure, you would have ate a little less, you would have hung out a little less, and you'd have been more focused on your goals ahead, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what it's all about. So hit that heart button. Let me know you understand the concept of what I just said. So if you don't have a big income, in which I don't believe none of us do. I'm a master level educator. I have several businesses that I own. Also, I wrote this book. It generates royalties for me. By the way, this book is available on 3 formats: the paperback, on digital, and in audio. So you don't even have to read, you can listen, which is the way I read. I listen. So this is one good idea that I had, to put knowledge on paper and pencil, on paper and pen, put it in digital, put it in audio, and my audio books sell more than what the paperback or the digital copies do. So that's income that comes in to support my legacy. So you invest in this, you learn ways to think about your finances. There's some suggestions in here, and that's all they are. They are suggestions. There's nothing that I put in this book to impress you, but just to give you a way to think about your finances. Malaya, any last words that you like to say to anybody tonight?
No.
No? No?
No.
So you're going to put more effort into your business to generate more income between now and the time you move into your senior year of college?
Yeah. I put more effort in.
Huh?
I said, I guess I'll put more effort in.
You guess you'll put more, but you got to come up with a plan. You got to have a plan. It's one thing to say, I guess I will, but we have to put a plan in. So for those of you that say, well, I'm overwhelmed right now, I don't have a whole lot of income, I don't know where to start with budgeting. I'm just one paycheck away from being put out in the street. I'm just one paycheck away from being homeless, one paycheck away from going hungry. Now is the time to plan. What's going on outside our walls of our homes, it's going to happen. We don't have control of that. We only have control of the resources and what we have now. So it all starts with a shift in our mindset and understanding how our finances is directly connected to our lives, and making simple changes starts with just baby steps. That's all it takes, just baby steps. We can't make it happen overnight. In my book, Recreating a Better Me, I share very transparently my financial struggles. I share it, and also guide you in steps to where you can start to overcome your financial struggles. Since writing this book and sharing my financial debt and struggles that I have, I've dug myself out as to date over $12,000 already out of the hole that I was in, say, 8-9 months ago when the book was released. So, and it's just by making changes, simple changes day to day, changing the way we eat, changing the way we prepare meals, changing how much money that we're going to spend shopping, how much we're going to how we're going to tackle car repairs and things like that. So it's about being patient. It's about being smart. It's about being wise and understanding that finances is connected to each and every part of our lives. Well, I thank you for joining me. If you've enjoyed this Facebook Live, go ahead and push that like button or that heart button. Leave a comment if you have a question. And I look forward to part 2, talking about finances in the time of crisis, where we'll get a little more into debt on how we can shift our mindsets as far as finances is concerned during a time of crisis. Thanks for joining me. Have a good night.